Welcome back. Wakey, wakey. So now we're going to have a company presentation. And I'd like to welcome John and Elyse from Fire and Shield. It's a consultancy. They do leadership. It's not a big consultancy, but so they do also interim leadership, interim management. And it's almost a leadership theory we're gonna hear. So try to use that theory that you read today. We've seen about the needs and the motivation theory. See if that maps onto some of this. And please ask questions. As we all know, it gets boring if you don't ask questions and we just simply see the motivation drift off somewhere else. So ask questions doing this. And let's have some fun. So welcome.
Yeah, can everybody hear me? Good morning to everybody. You're supposed to say good morning back when you're working in a company. It's the first thing you learn. When you come in a company, you're in charge of other people, you say good morning. The normal response is back. Let's try again. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. There you go. So that's the first lesson. Today I'd like you to pay attention for this next 1 hour. We have more than 40 years of experience leading other people. So we try to condense this in 1 hour. So I'm looking forward to do that. Leadership, leading other people. One of the most important things is preparation. Prepare yourself when you're leading other people. Prepare yourself every day. How many of you guys have prepared for today, for this class? How long did you know that you're going to have Fire and Shield today? How many checked out the web page? Hands up. Good, good. How many changed our LinkedIn profiles? How many? So you're not prepared. Guys, you're not prepared. You had the chance whole weekend to check out the web page, check out who Elyse is, check out who I am. Why not? I assume some of you guys want to be managers within the near future, leading other people. Preparation is really, really important. Really important. Engagement is another factor. You want to engage with people, start out with a good morning, but it's also good to go and say hello to people. Hey, hi, John.
Hey.
Hey, what's your name?
Jan.
Hi, Jan. Nice to meet you. Hi.
Hi.
Johnny. Nice to meet you. I'm trying to make connection with some of the guys here. Hi, Johnny. Keegan, nice to meet you as well. So this is about leadership. I can't lead people if I'm not in contact with people. You're smiling, you like this, right? This is actually truth. I didn't shake your hand, I'll come and do it. I'll make connection with you. Hi, Johnny, nice to meet you. Alex, nice to meet you. Where are you from? Romania. Nice place. I've never been there. I'd love to go once. So, leadership is a lot of things. But we're trying to learn people through leadership, through guiding other people, to motivate other people, is in fact to improve the financial performance. And we do that by bringing out the best in each of all of you guys here. So if you want to get the best out of people, motivate them, connect with them, engage with them, tell them what you want. Expectations, make sure they understand what you expect from people. Any of you guys having experience leading other people now? Hands up. I need someone to pick on.
There's one here.
One here. Ah, great. So you're leading other people today?
Not today.
Not today? You have done? In which way?
A research lab in California.
Great. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
At least 151.
Yeah. Don't stress.
I was running a research lab in California with I think 8 people.
Yeah. And how do you like it?
It was interesting.
How?
Because there is a lot of diversity, especially in that area when people are from, I think I had people from 8 different countries.
Yes. Yeah, I think you make a very valid point that you work with individuals. And of course, when you work with individuals, that can be individuals as from your personalities, it can be your gender, can be, the way you're thinking, the way you're working, but there's also cultural differences. There's a big difference leading people working in the southern Spain versus northern Finland. That's a cultural thing. So, we want to bring out the best in each individual. Further, what we believe is that you have to integrate what we define as hard and soft management. We believe, with our experience, that the hard leader and the soft leader shouldn't be the way we define it. We have to be able to do both. We have to train ourselves to adapt to each situation. That's why we develop this leadership concept called Fire and Shield. I have myself more than 25 years of leading other people. I've been doing CEO functions for many years. I've been living abroad for 11 years. So I tried also to work in other cultures. And yes, there's a big difference. But there's one thing that's always is common. We can all agree on the same goals in any company, in any culture, in any language, in any country. It's the same. The goals can always be the same. But the process of getting to the actual goal, that is where the difference lies. That's where we, as managers, need to be very strong in identifying the differences and differentiate the way we actually lead other people. And mark my words, I don't know if any of you guys have kids in here. I have 4 kids myself, and I have to admit that I can't raise my children the same way. There's no one-size-fits-all when it comes to bring up your kids, but also not when you talk about leadership and management. There's no one-size-fits-all. You can't just say, well, this is the way I am as a CEO. Well, maybe that's the way you are, but we believe that you can do better. So hopefully today we can inspire you to become extremely good leaders and managers in the future, because it's a huge responsibility.
Hi guys, I'm Elyse. Nice to meet you. I did the PhD out here with Casper, which is one of the reasons why we're here today. After that, I worked as a leader, both in indirect leadership positions. Do you guys know what indirect leadership positions are? It's what most of you will go out and have right after university. It's a position where, for instance, as a project manager, you don't have the formal authority, but you still need to get people to do what you want them to. You need to steer them in the direction of a goal. So I've worked as a project leader, I've worked as head of teams, and I ended at C-level, being head of a large department, being part of a management team. And working with people is about leading people, is about what we call best performance. I guess all of you know about high performance, right? Yeah, not good. So high performance, does anybody know where it comes from? Do I have the, where's the mic? It's here. Does anybody know where it comes from? High performance? Why are we talking about high performance? I guess? You have one? You already spoke.
I guess it's to maximize your output.
Yes. Yes, exactly. That wasn't a tricky one. You know, anyone could have said that. So, why do we think? Hi, I'm Elyse. Nice to meet you. Hey, Camilla. So, Camilla, why do you think the term high performance originates?
I don't know.
Any idea who has to be high performing more than anyone? Come on, guys. Yeah? Yeah?
I think a leader,
Yeah? Yeah?
because leader has to be, high perform to lead the team to get the
Exactly.
higher performance, I guess.
Exactly. Exactly. And it roots from something that starts with S. Sports. It roots from sports. We think that because top athletes have to get an Olympic gold. Oh, thank you. Top athletes have to get an Olympic gold, that this transcends into leading people. I have news for you guys, it's crap. Because leading people towards, training people, coaching people towards an Olympic final 4 years from now is a completely different process from leading people every day. When you guys get out there, those of you who've already worked in sort of a real workplace, maybe took a few years off before you started your master's, you know this, that out there you have to do an Olympic final every day. You have to perform every day. And if you aim at pressing the last single drop out of yourself or the people who work for you every single day, you will drain them. So what we're aiming for is best performance. And the difference between best performance and high performance is that best performance is that high performance which is sustainable. You can do it again tomorrow. We need people to get home, get charged. It's like your phones. If you don't charge them, what happens? That's an easy question. What happens? Dies, yeah? So we need to find that balance. Now, can we run this as sort of a protected lab where everyone wear flip-flops and everybody's out the office at 2 and, you know, long coffee breaks, and you go directly from your coffee break into your lunch? That would be fun, huh? Now, why can't we do that? Anyone? Who? Yeah.
It will most likely create a very bad culture.
Yeah, exactly. And one more point. Who's paying the party? We're playing with other people's money. If it's your own company, you start a company, you decide, hey, I don't care about making money, I just want to employ my friends, maybe we make some cash, maybe we don't. Hey, fine, I want to work there, if you pay well. But the problem is that we're there for other people's money. So we're put in charge of other people's money. On the other hand, we have people in our care that we need to make sure can get into work tomorrow. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the biggest dilemma you're going to face when you're going to lead people. Because leadership is responsibility. Now, how many of you took this course, would have taken this course if it wasn't mandatory? And be honest, I won't be offended. I'm not even going to grade you.
I will be offended.
Okay, Casper, look away. No, seriously. It's okay. Huh? Would take this course if it, yeah, if it was not mandatory. Yeah. So, thank you. Everybody who didn't raise their hand, shame on you. Because about 3/4 of you guys are going to get out and get leadership jobs. So this is the most important job, most important class you're going to have. And it's the most important because you will be impacting other people's lives. Has any of you ever had any kind of job? It could be newspaper routes, it could be sweeping your father's entryway. Anyone here had a job ever? Raise your hands. Okay. Anybody had a boss in any of those jobs? Yeah. Anybody had a good boss? Yeah. What happens when you have a good boss?
Well, you kind of want to go to work, even though for me it was just money beside my SU because I kind of needed it.
Yeah.
But because I had a good boss, I actually wanted to be there, and I wanted to put in the extra hours, even though it wasn't mandatory.
Exactly. Anybody try to have a bad boss? Yeah. Oh, can you, someone who's a better thrower than me, throw it up there, please? I'm sorry you had to put away your phone, sir. Do apologize. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, they didn't really care about bad work environments.
Yeah.
And because I worked in, it's not a grill, but it's in the zoo where you like can buy food and stuff. And they didn't care that we were like walking around in the smoke from all the frying and stuff like that. yeah, so I actually just quit after like a month or something because it was just, they didn't want to listen to us about the problems there were. So,
Exactly. So what happened to you?
well, I quit because
Yeah,
I didn't want to
but
work
how did
there.
it make you feel, is my point.
Well, I don't think it changed how I felt, more like it changed how I felt towards the work and towards the person, because I didn't want, I mean, clearly I was there for the money. It's not that interesting for me to serve fries.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just felt that it's not worth it, so.
Okay, exactly. So that's another thing, very important point. People join companies, but they leave bosses. Okay? So you guys are going to be responsible for keeping people on board. Now, occasionally there's going to be someone you employ who's a mismatch, or there's going to be someone you employ where you just took the wrong person for the job, or there's someone you employ who get a really great opportunity somewhere else. But most of the time when people leave, we talked about high turnover rates before. High turnover rates always points back to the manager. It can be, company specific, but it always comes back to the manager. So we have responsibility for people's lives, and you have to remember, we're not going to let anyone hammer on our houses unless they have a 4-year education. We're not going to go to let anybody call themselves Master of Science unless they have a 5-year education. But it takes about 30 minutes to become a manager. So in 30 minutes, you're somebody else's boss. You have power over them. You can send them home flying, or you can send them home crying, literally. All it takes, the easiest thing in the world when you have power over somebody else is to tear them apart. Did anybody see the movie Horrible Bosses? Yeah, and they're out there. They're out there. They will tear you down. They will diminish you. They will assassinate you in front of other people. They'll be, oh my God, I can't believe you were wearing that hat today. Things like that. You can't defend yourself against it. But see what happens. See what happens. It's horrible, but these things happen. So don't be one of those. Be one of the persons where everybody's going to be, oh my God. What's your name? Lysinka. Did I pronounce it right? Yeah. Okay. So be like Lysinka. Everybody's going, oh my God, I got on Lysinka's team. I can't believe how lucky I am. Calling you 5 years after. Can I use you as a reference? You're still the best boss I ever had. I can't believe how much I learned from working with you. How does that feel? Yeah, right. So be that one, right? Because what we're talking about here is fire and shield. We need to fire people up. We need to make sure that they're motivated and that they're challenged. But at the same time, we need to talk about them feeling safe. And I have news for you guys. Safety is even more important now, or as important now as it was 50 years ago. Safety just looks different now. Safety means that I know and trust my boss. I know where we're going. I can figure this out. So if you're going to be a good boss to someone, you just need to balance that. It's as simple as that. Why do we become bosses? Normally, there are 3 motives. I'm the specialist, I'm the best coder, and now I'm head of the tech department. I'm the best in the lab, so now I'm head of the lab. Somebody feels like Lysinka? Yeah. Who wants to motivate people? I want to make them grow. It's fantastic. And somebody is like, I'm going to use you an example. What's your name?
Charles.
Hi, Charles. I'm Elyse. Nice to meet you. Charles, he's in for the power. He wants to be in charge. Yeah. So, and he wants a big car and the status and the corner office and the best of all, that parking lot outside with your name on. Then you made it. You can take a picture, you can send it to your mom, you buy the big watch. You're like, yes, I got there. Ha! Yeah? The problem is when we're leading people, we need to do all three. You cannot just be the nice person, the one who wants people to grow and develop, because somebody else is going to play the power game. So you can be nice to your people in your little corner, but you'll never get the funding, you'll never get the good projects. You can't be power hungry, because leadership is not given us from above. We get authority from above, but leadership, how do we get leadership? Where do we get leadership from, Charles? Yes, exactly. You're not appointed leadership by those above you, you're appointed leader by those who choose to follow you. And look at yourselves. I mean, does anybody like to follow somebody here they don't trust or like? No. So why would the people who are going to work for you? Trust me, the generation after you are going to be even more horrible to lead than yourselves. Okay? Even more individualistic, even more me, and my needs. So you have to be somebody they want to be led by.
So, back to the organization. Now I'm going to do something which is nice. I'm going to tell you to forget everything you learned about organizations diagram the last probably 4 or 5 years. When you are going to lead a company or a group of people, you have to map this organization diagram. So this is the real chart of organization. I know you learned a lot about matrix, hierarchies, subgroups, etc., but when you're going to lead people and lead an organization, you need to understand what is behind people. Back to the point, I was so lucky to be able to shake hands with some of you. You need to sit down and learn your teams, learn the individuals, find out what's motivating them. I just saw you had a big course in motivations. So to be able to understand what motivates people, what motivates Charles besides a big car and a new watch, is that I have to use and understand how do I motivate him. And apparently this is power, right? Charles is the power guy now, sorry. So spend time on your organization. Read your people. Find out what's going on. Understand the relationships between people. Understand that some people, they are seeing each other on a private basis, which is fine. It's good. Maybe even some are having a small love affair, you never know. But, just take it into account when you're leading people, because when you make decisions, make them based upon the facts and your knowledge. Back to the point, know your persons, know your people, know your organizations, and you cannot lead and manage people from behind your screen. So I can only urge you to go out there and speak with people and when you manage the people. What we talk about is, of course, best performance. So back to the point is that we have to get the best out of ourselves each and every day when we go to our jobs. If we push people too hard, there's a high risk of people burning out. Have somebody in here ever had a job where they're really pushed beyond, where they really feel, now I can't really take it any longer, this is too hard for me? Besides, of course, the hard studies and all the difficult questions from Casper. But anybody tried getting really pushed hard on a project or anything else that would like to share it? Well, I can share one. I've been pushed very hard. It's like when you get in the company and the company losing money and you have to lay off people, and every month you're checking out whether you actually now pay the actual salaries for the next month, then you come under pressure. And that pressure is pretty hard, especially when you're a leader or manager. Because back to what Lee just told us, we are responsible for other people's lives and their children and their families. And you get on that pressure for a very long time, there's a risk that you can burn out. So what we're just saying here is that be aware, if you push people very much, there's a high risk also of they can burn out. So we have to be aware not to push them too hard. Then that's the other side. That's when we are so caring and we're not really putting up any push for more performance, etc. Then there's a high risk for people just, getting bored on their jobs. And now we have a new word for that. That's called a bore out. That means that you get so tired of going to your job every day because it is so boring. I'm not challenged. Back to the point where we're trying to state is that we have to make sure to challenge people so people feel that they are developing. And back to the Maslow thinking. It's about self-realization and can I get my goals, etc., etc. So bore out is a phenomenon as well. And then there's the point where there's there's no fire, there's no shields. This is just, people just want to get out. And there's a lot of companies there as well where we don't push them, we don't take care of them. And those situations, a lot of people simply just leave because it's not a nice place to be. So what we're trying to state here is that the more you take care of people, the more you can actually push people. So the more safe frame I can create as a manager or as a leader for my team, for my company, for my group, the more I can actually push you. This worked in real life. I've been doing interim management for the last 8 years. When you do interim management, you come into very strange companies and very strange situations. It's always some way of a turmoil. So in those situations, it's very clear. If you can create a very safe environment to work within, people can really go a long way. So you have to be aware that there's the two dimensions. So you push people, and you try to take care of them as well. So the more you take care of people, the more you can push them. And the other way, the more you push them, the more you have to take care of them. Right now you're working and learning a lot of different things. You get a lot of toolbox. Today you learn about Maslow, you learn about motivation, skills, etc., etc. We would like to encourage you to think it as your toolbox. And I'm sure that over the last 4 or 5 years you learned a lot. You get a lot of tools. So now you're not carpenters yet, but almost. Take those tools and put them in your toolbox. Maybe you could differentiate it and put it as a fire tool and a shield tool. Why is this important? Because what we knowledge and what we've seen out there is that very often if we are good with the hammer, when I come out and I'm a manager and I'm running this team and I get success by using the hammer, there is probably a 95% risk that on my next project, because I was successful in my previous project, I'm going to take the hammer again. But sometimes it can be difficult to use the hammer every time. If you're going to screw it in with a hammer, it's going to be difficult. So why don't you just take a screwdriver? So try to sort your tools and see if you can list them as a fire and shield tool in the future. We're going to come back now to the fire and the shield theory, but take all your tools and sort them. So every time you're in a situation, every time you go in a meeting, every time you're going to have an assessment with an employee, then make your own assessment. What do I need to do? Which tool should I use now? Because we are, unfortunately, just people and human beings. And we have a tendency that we will just use what we did yesterday. We like to repeat. This is our mindset. So please assess your situations every day, every hour, every second. Before you go into any meeting, just make a short assessment. What do I want out of this meeting? What is important of this meeting? Learn yourself, because you're also young now. You do not have all the habits as the rest of us. So now make some good habits. Take those 2 minutes before you engage with people, when you engage a meeting, to define for yourself, what do I want from this meeting? What do I want from this conversation? Just a simple question. Any one of you guys have had one conversation in your life that has changed your life, or you can still remember that conversation? Anybody has tried that in their life? With a grandfather, with an old boss, with a football coach, or whatever. Somebody tried that? Yeah? You want to share it? Or is it too personal? Thank you for sharing. It's like Dr. Phil, right?
I mean, I think we all have a few that stick out, but the one that's maybe most relevant, and at least for me easiest to share, is my grandfather always said that we have 2 years for a reason. I don't know, it's cliche, but he put the emphasis on the fact that we're so quick to talk when we think what we know, and that the biggest mistake we ever make is assuming that we know the full story before we've tried to exhaust all the information we can get.
That is a hell of a good advice. I wish I had that probably 40 years ago. But it's a very relevant point. Just, again, listen. And before you make your judgment, before you just take charge, sometimes it's better just to rethink before it comes, right? It's a good advice. But I'm saying this is that we all have had that experience. I just want you to be aware that you have the possibility to be the one giving the good advice as a manager, as a leader. So you can be the one having the chair giving the good advice and making a difference for someone. Basically, every time you have a conversation. So, when you go away today, we would like you to remember these two handles. It's a fire handle and it's a shield handle. So we can always turn up the fire handle to put the fire on people, put the pressure on people. And we always have the options and the possibility to turn up for the shield factor, to protect our staff, to take care of our people, to create the right fame. So please remember that every time you go into any situation, there's two handles you can move on. 2 dimensions. Cannot be more simple like that.
So we're just going to we're just going to give you a bit more details on what fire and shield is, because it's not just about pressure and protecting. You had kata on part of the syllabus, right? No. Kata is talking about burning platform. Kata is talking about a lot of things, but one of the things is a burning platform that creates what he calls a sense of urgency. A sense of urgency is needed when we want to create a change. If you don't feel the need to change, if there's no pressure on you, you're going to keep doing whatever you did yesterday. So if we want to create a change, we need to create a burning platform. Kata calls it the true sense of urgency. There's also something called false sense of urgency. False sense of urgency is just when we're running around, we have a lot of meetings, we feel really busy. Oh, I have to update on Facebook, I have to do da-da-da. But none of it really matters. None of it moves the organization, none of it makes a real difference. So what we're talking about here when we talk about fire is in parallel to what Kata calls true sense of urgency. One of the things that, if we're looking for fire, is to see if people are working in teams. When we entered here, well, if you're looking at yourselves as a group right now, how dynamic would you rate yourselves? 1 to 10. Anybody would rate this group above a 3? Raise your hands. Above 2? Yeah, okay. So we have a pretty low dynamic group, right? Pretty low fire. So you guys are not going to change anything. You're not going to go out there and make an impact as a group. You might do it as individuals. But when we're looking for fire, we want the team to act. So when you go into an organization, look at if people are working in teams. Look if people are executing on things. Is it just talk and a lot of meetings? And then at the end of the meeting, because we didn't really reach a conclusion, what do we do then? We book a new meeting. And then we have a new meeting with the same set of people, or we can go from one meeting with a group of people and then meet the exact same people in a different meeting with a different agenda. But the points might as well have been taken in that first meeting. That's a false sense of urgency. It's not what we're looking for. We get really busy, we get stressed out, but we don't get anything accomplished. So, what we're looking for is, first of all, communication. If you want to put the pressure up, you need to tell people that this is what we'll do. You need to keep it short, to the point, be precise. If we're running out of money, how do we tell people that? What could we do? We're running out of money. At the end of the month, there won't be any left. Anyone? Charles? I'm coming for you again. I'm sorry. You're my safe haven. Yeah.
For starters, thank you for this. It's a hard one. I was actually trying to come up with something, but it's a tough one.
It is.
Usually, if you have big companies, if they need money, the last resort, it seems, or the most criticized one is mass firing.
Yeah.
And it seems that they keep that to themselves up until the last minute. But
why do they do that? Just now you're in the hot chair, so your fire level is up.
Yeah, I guess. I would imagine that if they do it before, or if they send out a warning, people will panic, and maybe that will have a bigger impact than just letting people know.
That's good.
Yeah.
Can I keep you? No, should I take one on the cheap seats?
Sure.
Yeah, we'll take someone in the cheap seats. Somebody who's looking on their phone. Here you go. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Hi, I'm Elyse. Nice to meet you.
I'm Simon.
Thank you, Simon. Sorry to put you on the spot here. Do you think the people, when they're being fired, mass firing, the company's running out of money, do you think the people in the organization do not know that we're running out of money?
No.
Thank you. So it wasn't dangerous, you see? No, people know. Why do people know? Why do people know that we're running out of money?
Otherwise, they wouldn't be firing people.
Yeah, well, that's one thing, but who knows that we're running out of money? The people in accounting? Yeah, they can see what's on the books. The people in HR, because they're looking at the contracts. The people in, yeah, let's get the mic. Simon, you're off. Again, thank you. Thank you. On behalf of the back row, thank you. Here you go.
Often when it's these problems, it seems as though the everyday employee knows way more than what's expected. And I think when a company's in tight financial or tight budgets, they underestimate how people are going to react. And so that's why I think they keep it to themselves, and then mass fire. And I don't think it comes as a surprise to anybody, because surely along the way there's been small signs, so something gets tighter. There's some rules. Okay, now you can't automatically authorize any, deposits or exchanges. Now there's suddenly this rule. Now there's this extra step. And then these small steps, you think you're smart by implementing small steps, but people know that there's change.
Exactly.
People are not stupid.
You have to employ really, really stupid people if you think you can lie to them.
Yeah. And I think there's nothing that spreads quicker than rumors and gossip.
Exactly. So that's exactly why we need to communicate, because we want to control the rumors. We want people to hear it from us before they hear it from someone else. If we are in a financially tight situation, we need to tell the people that this is what's going on. We need to give feedback. We're in a culture where we're always trying to be really nice, and I'm sorry guys, the fact that you have more friends online than offline means that giving feedback is even more difficult, okay? And receiving feedback is horrible, because you're never used to it. Your moms told me you were unique all your lives, and I have words for you. You're not. You go out there's a world waiting for you where you're just a number. So one of the challenges when you lead people is to make them feel unique and important. Feedback, you both need to tell people what they did really well. Why do we need to tell people what they do well? Where's the mic? Yeah.
Positive reinforcement.
Yeah, yeah. What happens if we don't tell them what something that we're really happy about them doing?
They don't know that you're happy about it,
Exactly.
and they might do things differently next time.
Exactly. Thank you. You want to swap?
I'm good. Sure.
Yeah. So, how do we tell people things we want them to change without killing them? I did the hat thing with Charles before. I talked about Simon being on the phone. You know, how was that? Was that constructive feedback? No, not really. Could I have done it in a smarter way? I could have told Simon what I would like to have. I'm using you again, Simon. I hope you'll forgive me. I could have told Simon, what do I want from him? Focus on what you want, not on what you don't want. I really appreciate that you showed up, Simon. I'm super happy about that. And next time, if you put your phone away, it will be even better. That would just make my day. Thank you. Have you any idea how early I had to get up, to get showered? I had to iron a shirt to be here and to be prepared. I spent so many hours doing this presentation. It means the world to me that you're paying attention. Thank you. See? So feedback is super important. Now, when you don't get feedback, what happens? You feel invisible. How does it feel to feel invisible? Anyone? Anyone there raising a hand before I appoint someone? How does it feel to feel? How does it feel? There was one? Somebody more? Oh, yeah, great, thank you. Without even being selected.
It feels very demotivating because you don't feel you make any difference, whatever you do.
Exactly. And what happens when we're demotivated, especially in the job market right now? What do? Yeah, exactly. We start looking for another job. So maybe you're a top performer, but nobody ever told you. And you'll be looking somewhere else. We need to make decisions based on facts, and we need to have clear objectives. So if I want to raise the level of fire, I need to be super direct. These are the 3 things we'll do. It also means that these 10 other things we will not do. I need to state that this is urgent, if it's urgent. I need to be decisive. So if we have a meeting and we make a decision, we want to execute on that decision immediately. Has anybody ever worked in a place where nobody acted on decisions? We just talked about it. Yeah. It's horrible. It's draining. So, fire is necessary in order to move an organization to create results.
So, I need to talk about shield, the other factor. Shield. Well, shield doesn't mean job security. It's not a matter of making sure that you have a job for the rest of your life. It is to create a sense of safety. And this is about protection. We define it as feeling of being shielded against unjust, irrational, or overly emotional decisions and behavior. So this is like when you're having a boss that one day comes in the office and is happy. On the Mondays, Tuesday, less happy. Wednesday, it's really bad. That is like you really can't read the person. That, of course, will create a very non-shielded situation. All this is to, of course, create the frame for be able to endure the fire. So we can put the pressure, the positive pressure, to put on the right burning platform so we actually can get our organization to move. One of the things that's very important is that we want to create an environment where we can focus on our jobs and our tasks. So I can actually go to work every day being focused at what I have to solve, my assignments. You're probably going to learn that in a few years when you come to jobs, that when you feel not shielded, then a lot of time will be spent on thinking on things you can't understand. I've been in companies, been myself, where you are suddenly checking why is my manager having a meeting with people that I have not seen before. So you're checking people's agenda. So you spend time on wondering what's going on in the company. So what we're just trying to say here as an example is that make sure your people around you knows the agenda, knows what's happening. So keep up an extremely high level of information. All this is about, we just want to make sure that we want to keep fear and anxiety away. Because what happens if we are afraid? Basically what happens is that we can't think. Because our blood moves away from the front and goes back to the reptile part of our brains. And no good ideas has ever come when the blood moves there. In fact, it has been scientifically proven that when you go to your exam and you're sitting at this green desk and suddenly you can't remember anything. Anybody tried that? I did? Okay, thank you, thank you. You know what happens with the blood? You know where it runs? It runs down to your quadriceps. Because your brain goes, you have to run now. So be aware when you're out there, when you're managing people, is that don't put in that position, because if you push them so hard and they feel unsafe, they can't calculate what's going on, then you're just going to use their brains. You're just going to lose it. And they're going to come up with good ideas. So make sure they can focus on the jobs and the assignments and the task. This is what it's about. Some very, very simple indicators. Expectations. And this is one of the things, the first thing we're saying, make sure that you align expectations. Elyse just mentioned it. Make sure to tell people what you expect. Because in the base, we all want to be successful. I assume. Please raise the hands of you who do not want to be a success. So, my thesis has been proven. You all want to be successful. Make sure what you want is what you tell people. They can't figure you out. Honest communication. Always be honest. Of course, you have to take into account if you're a C20, if you're on a stock market, you can be honest to a certain degree. But be as honest as you can ever be with your employees. Don't fool them. Somebody said here, we're working with smart people. That was a very intelligent remark. Involve your employees. Involve them. The more involvement, the more engagement, the better it's going to be. I'm just going to take one more. No favorites game. What happens when you become managers is one of the most funny things is that the second you get the promotion and you're a manager, you get another title too. You're also a comedian. Because when you're a boss and you tell a joke, everybody laughs. Don't receive flatter. At the moment you get the first job as your manager or as a project leader, do not fall for the flatter. There's a lot of it going around out there. It's very nice. I fell for it in the past. I learned to not look into it, but do not fall for the flatter. It's so easy to create, an A and a B team. The ones that really like you and the ones that you never really talk to. And when you have an A and a B team within your whole team, your performance as a group will go down. Severe. So be aware. No politics. And make sure you make rules people can understand. And Elyse mentioned the one with the parking lots. No one understands why the most expensive guy in the company driving the biggest car has to park the car outside of the front door, and he's away 4 days a week. So, please do not disregard the safety in your organization. This is the fundament for making sure your people can run fast.
I think we need to wrap up.
Yeah, we wrap up, yeah.
So, you learned the STAR model, you're going to build a company, or you're going to do a business plan to build one, or you're in a position in a company where you get to assess these things. Combine it with fire and shield. Because when you're looking at your strategy, make sure that you have fire elements and shield elements. Have I thought about, how are we going to fire people up to do this? How are we going to get engagement? And how are we going to make people feel safe in this process? Same thing when it comes to the people. What are the things we have in place when it comes to people? Fire elements, shield elements. I know it seems really simple right now, but when you're out there doing it and you're super busy, this actually works. So basically, you're in a situation, you are a manager. The first thing you do is assess, is this a fire? Is fire higher here than shield, or is shield higher than fire? Take yourselves as an example. Right now, you're here. You can flunk the course, but you won't get fired. So you are more protected now, which comes back to the low level of fire and the not so dynamic group yet. Then what we do is that we turn up the volume of either fire or shield to get the balance. So if we're in a fire situation, we want higher shield. If we're in a shield situation, we want higher fire. Everybody got that? And then you can turn it up. 2 handles. So if you only remember one thing from today, I know your attention span can be really short. No, joking. But if you remember one thing today that will stick when you become a manager and responsible for other people's lives, please remember the 2 handles.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments, something? Still awake? Good. First, yeah, I'll have to throw it. And then you.
Yeah, it was about. You were talking about in the beginning about when you're leading individuals and you have to assess to each and everyone. We have to find a solution that fits everybody, right? Is it about Is it about the culture and depending on the culture of the organization and the people, but also it's about adapting to you. Just a moment. The interpreter is not quite sure what the point is.
So if you have a group, you have to be sure about how the culture.
If you have a group, you have to make sure about how the culture in that group is, and you have to make sure that you can handle and adapt to the handicap of each. If you have a handicap group.
I think I understood the question because.
Okay, so it's more about you have to know how to, as a leader, adapt to each and every person, or they have to know themselves enough to be able to interact in that social group. Do you understand?
Yeah, I do. Yes. No. Basically, you set up a framework on how you work with your staff and your personnel. But it's very clear that you will work on an individual basis. If you have to bring out the best out of each of you guys in here, I have to make sure to do some small differentiations because your motivations are, of course, one of them are very, very different. So one guy wants to go for the money, another one will go for the power, etc., etc. So I have to lead them as a group, but I have to be individual. So it's back to the way of thinking. When you get your kids, you're going to have 2 or 3 or 4 kids, but you have to raise them differently. You're going to do it in the same framework with the same basis, but you will have to do it individual because we are all individuals.
Thanks. Your question?
You talked a lot about the fire and the shield and the guidelines, but what do you actually do on a daily basis?
When you're a leader?
No, you as a company, what do you do with these fire and shield?
Okay, we go into companies and help them get better leadership. And we do that using this framework. Sometimes we do it for the company, and sometimes we do it with the company. So sometimes we train the leaders to do this themselves, and sometimes we go in and become the leader temporarily, using this framework to motivate people and to create better results. So in the end, everything you do as a leader, we've talked about the people, we've talked about the motivation, but the motivation should always translate into better performance. And in some organization, that means making more money. In some organization, that means less sick days, losing less money. In some organization, it means getting more out of your budget. But it's all about performance in the end. Did that answer your question? Yeah.
Thank you. There's one last question over here, and then we have a break.
How do you deal with underperformance and plagiarism in the company as a leader?
Once again, sorry.
How do you deal with underperformance and
How we read it?
yeah, how do you deal with it?
Deal with
as,
it.
as a
Deal with
leader,
it, yeah. Okay.
Me as a leader, how do I deal with it?
And do we know if, in your question, is that when it's the whole team or the whole company or?
A couple of people in the team, and
Okay.
And also people trying to steal some other person's work because they are underperforming.
Yeah.
So in that kind of these two situations, they come together sometimes.
Yeah, they often do. Well, first of all, stealing other people's ideas is a really, really bad thing, period. If you're a manager and you steal your employees' ideas, how much loyalty do you get? You know, so that's rule number one. Credit given where credit is due. Now, some people choose to get ahead because they want the power and the big watch and the big car. They choose to get ahead and they don't have a lot of original ideas themselves. So they choose to get ahead by taking someone else's idea. This is the example you're talking about, right? If you ever see that as a manager, you need to strike really hard on that. Because that is the one of the most deadliest thing in a team. Because if people in a team don't trust each other, they can't work together.
Do you do that in the first sign of plagiarism? Or?
Yeah,
Okay.
First sign. And it's always easier. My grandmother had this thing, you know, if you take a stitch early on, you save 10 later. I don't know if the saying translates, but, you know, early, address the behavior you don't want at the first sign of it. Because at that point, it's just a friendly reminder. It's just, oh, by the way, next time, you know, I realized that this was not your project, and it's so much better if you give everybody credit, because that means that you guys will have a better way of working together. Very easy. Did you feel offended when I said that? No, thank you. But if it's happened 10 times, but I haven't said anything, I'm going to be so pissed off. You know what? I'm so sick of you taking other people's ideas. I cannot believe how you could even come into work acting like that. How did that feel? Yeah, I tried to turn it up. But that's what happens when we don't say these things early on. Or what even worse is that you're going to snap at her because she's taking your ideas all the time. So in a meeting, because I'm your manager, I'm blind and numb and deaf and I can't hear anything, I won't respond. You end up attacking her, saying, that was my idea. How dare you? So, does that
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, one question there.
So, as I understand, you provide some kind of leadership coaching for companies. Do you do that on a continuous basis, such as you deliver some kind of seminar, assess what needs to be changed, and then, like in 6 months, you do the same again, and then if that didn't work, you provide a different approach, or is it more like one-time basis?
It varies. It varies from client to client. We have some clients where we're part of the leadership training. So when you come in, when you're appointed team leader, you get sort of a mandatory leadership training, and then we're part of that program. And we have some where we're in, we train all leaders, and then we leave. And then hopefully they want to book us back. We didn't screw it up completely. But so it's all depending from client to client.
But one of the things that we very much aim for is that we try to go to our clients with the experience. It's very important. We definitely mention this, but the whole concept is built upon experiences. And then we tried to narrow it down to a theory. But we started out saying we have a lot of practical knowledge. How could we transform our experience into somebody else's actually learn book, so you can get some quick fixes without doing 20 years of small mistakes on the way? Because you might as well face it already now, you're going to make a lot of mistakes as managers. Because you get emotionally involved, because you think that Charles is more fun to work with, that, I don't remember your name, but so you make some decisions on the way that are not the best ones. But the best thing by being a manager is that we can redo them. So if you make one bad decision today, we can make a new one tomorrow. Don't be afraid to take decisions out there.
If you can yell your question quickly, because after that, we really wrap up. Yell, yell, yell.
Yes.
So the question is, do you believe anyone can be a leader?
I believe yes.
Yes.
Yes. You're not born to be a leader. Leadership is like, it's just a craftsman's tool. You have to learn it. You're not born to be a leader. It's only in the movies with Braveheart and all those. One more question, yelling.
That everyone can be a leader?
Now, particular engineers, our trade, we end up as leaders very, very quickly.
Yes. Project management. Project management.
We end up as technical leaders of smaller projects in companies very quickly. As soon as you're in a company and you be perhaps the only one who knows something about microwave arrays, and they have to do a small project, and that you're going to end up being the project leader, because the technicalities and the technology is going to determine the organization and the solution. And that's why engineers always end up in management or leading positions, regardless if they want to or not, or if they're talented or not. Sorry, I couldn't hear that. Yeah. Could be other engineers, could be blue-collar workers, could be anyone.
Secretaries, assistants, sometimes you have a junior, sometimes you even get to lead a business school graduate, but normally it's the other way around for some reason.
I mean, even in an engineering company with 10 engineers and nothing else, suddenly they have 10 projects. They each specialized, and you have a matrix structure. Each of these engineers are going to end up with a small management task of their particular project involving the other guys in that group. And you better behave as a leader. Even though you just think it's a simple technical problem, it's always going to be a leadership issue. But with that, we have to have a break now. So what time is it? It's that watch is completely wrong.
One last comment. We have the book we wrote about this concept. If anybody of you want it as an ebook, our email addresses are here. Please send us an email, and we'll send it to you free of charge. And also, if you thought this was interesting, please like us and follow us on Facebook or LinkedIn. We'd love, hook up with us. We're fine with that. Don't be shy. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening.
So 10-minute break, 20 minutes past in here again. Stretch your legs, breathe a bit of fresh air.